5 gallons. I'll get this back to my house. Yeah, it's nuts.
You know, that's almost as quick as my VRZ. I'm just joking.
Trying to keep up.
Hey guys, Brandon here with Exotic Cars 19, doing another one of these owning series videos. Like I've been saying, I want to do a couple more of these, and thankfully we have Mitchell here with his 2013 Camaro SS 1LE, and so he's going to tell us a little bit of the ownership experience with this car. So anyway, thanks Mitchell for being in the video.
Of course, thanks for having me. How's it going, guys? Yeah, I bought this car maybe about 4 months ago. It's been a lot of fun so far. You know, it's my first V8 that I've ever owned, and it definitely, you pay for that in gas, but you know, it makes up for it in the power and the torque, and it's a lot of fun. It's a good manual car to drive, and it's good for a lot of the Texas backcountry roads that we have around here, I think.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned last time we met, what was your car before this one?
Yeah, so before this car I owned a Nissan 350Z. Completely different handling car, completely different driving car. You know, it's probably a good 500 pounds lighter. It's got about half the power, but you don't really notice it on a lot of these Texas hill country roads. They just they're so windy and curvy that, you know, having that amount of power is sufficient to have a great time. So I don't know, it's a completely different animal. Yeah, the 350 was an automatic, so that was a lot different also.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah, now you were saying last time we met is about kind of how much of the power you're able to use. So on roads like this, you could probably wind out the 350 a little bit more. But then again, they also say no replacement for displacement. So do you agree?
You know, when you're on the highway and in those kind of situations, I have to agree, no replacement for displacement. One kind of gripe that I've had about this Camaro is that it is kind of boring. On these backcountry roads, like you said, you know, you can wind out the power in a 350, whereas in this thing, it just is it never feels like it's being pushed. You can always feel like you can do more, and so it gets really, really boring.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not really boring. It's still fun to drive, but
it's definitely rowdy. I mean, hopefully some of the GoPro shots in the back can just pick up how much this thing is backfiring, popping off and cracking. It's great. And what do you say you did? You pulled the fuse on it, right? To allow the valves to always be open.
I did. So this MPP exhaust that these Camaros come with, they have baffles, they open and close when you get higher in the RPM range, and there's a fuse that controls those baffles opening and closing. So if you pull the fuse, they just stay open all the time. So, you know, you're going down a hill and you can hear the popping going off, and you're a pedestrian on the street, you don't know what it is. To me, it sounds kind of like a gun going off.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of people turning and giving you frightening looks like, what's going on? And then they realize that it's a car and it's not a big deal. But you turn a lot of heads when it pops.
And like we mentioned, this is not just the SS, but the 1LE. And like we were mentioning earlier, it's almost like the 1LE is what it is to the Camaro, what the Grand Sport is to the Corvette.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the supercharger from the ZL1 or the Z06 if we're making that reference, but it's got all the other things. So what else comes with the 2013 1LE? Cosmetically, you'll see the matte black hood, but what else do you get performance-wise?
Right, so the 1LE performance-wise comes with end links and tow bars from the Z01, and then it also comes with monotube dampers. They're a little bit different. I think the stock SSs come with dual tube dampers, so they're a little bit lighter, better for track use. And then, yeah, cosmetically you get the front lip, the rear spoiler, and then the steering wheel and the shift knob are both made of, you know, Chevy's micro suede material that comes in the Z01. So those are kind of like the 1LE upgrades that you get.
Yeah, because people who've seen a couple of Corvette videos from mine, I make a lot of different references that I really like the Grand Sport. If I had to get a Corvette, it would be a Grand Sport, because I think the best kind of power is controllable power, and I think the Z06 is awesome. It's nuts. Yeah. But I think the Grand Sport would be a little bit, you know, more, not as much as a, you know, handful, versus I think thrown to the 1LE. It's the same thing with the Camaro, same kind of recipe, and I really like that. And like we mentioned earlier, I believe, if this is correct, the new 1LE, the 2016, 2017 1LE SS is faster than the previous generation Z28. Yeah. So there's a lot of progression there, so I think that's kind of cool. And we were mentioning earlier, that kind of analogy goes bust when you see the new ZL1 1LE. Yeah. That'd be like the Z06 Grand Sport. That doesn't make any sense. That should have been called a Z28, but hey, maybe they have a Z28 way down the road.
which would be awesome.
But man, I gotta say, it's pretty cool that GM kind of threw the reins with the Camaro department. Now it's almost like Camaro and Corvette are competitors.
They are,
which is pretty great, actually. I do love it. Competition brings out the best in the cars. So how long do you say that you've owned this one?
So I bought this car on January 11th of this year.
Okay.
I found it on Car Gurus probably December, and it took me about a month to finally, after getting in touch with the guy who's selling it and getting the title all clean in his name and stuff, it took about a month before I actually got the car. So I've had it for about 4 months. And it's been an absolute blast. I've put, almost 8,500 miles on it. So that's a lot of driving in 4 months.
Yeah,
but, you have a car like this and it's sitting in your garage and you just, every sunny day and you have a great opportunity, you have to take it out on the roads and take it for a spin. So.
Where would you say you enjoy it the most? Like what kind of driving? Like here in the hill country, you'll have the hill country drives and everything else, but where do you think the car is most, I don't know, connected, feeling, or alive? If that sounds cheesy.
For sure. Definitely, not like the super tight and windy roads, but definitely roads that are more windy than your average, everyday like neighborhood or freeways. The ones, they're a good mix that have like kind of the longer sweeping turns that you can really get like, going a little bit faster, maybe like 60, 70 miles an hour, like around some of those longer corners. I think that's when the car's the most fun because when you're going that fast and the car's still gripping to the road, it's like, it's a cool feeling. Hard to describe, but it's cool.
So any road that emulates a track best, because this was really, that's what it was made for. Is track driving. If you just go same thing with the 350, but as my viewers know, I drive a BRZ, and the cool thing with the BRZ is on Lime Creek, you're not going fast, but you're mashed like pretty much the whole time. You're floored the entire drive for the most part, which is pretty fun. But if I took the BRZ at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas, it would not even be able to get out of its own way. It would be so slow. Versus this thing, oh my gosh, that's when it would really open the taps up, is on a long sweeping track.
Yeah, that's true. That's it's in the future. I have my eyes set on taking this thing to a track one day.
Oh, very cool.
And getting to do a couple laps. I think that, when you have a car like this, how can you not? It's
So other than that, though, what are other kind of like ownership experiences? Any problems with it? Any kind of running costs stuff?
Yeah, have not had a single issue with this car. Like I said, I've only owned it for about 4 months, but I have put a lot of miles on it. Not a single issue whatsoever. Gas is expensive, obviously. It costs about $40 to fill up. It takes 93 octane, so it costs about $40 to fill up, and you get about 200 miles on a tank, which is about 17 gallons. So gas doesn't last super long, so gas is probably going to be your most expensive cost. Oil changes run normal. Synthetic oil change is like $65. Other than that, the car's been fairly cheap to maintain, and the reliability of the LS3 is kind of what drew me to getting a Camaro in the first place, is that I knew I wouldn't really have to do like a crazy amount of maintenance. So it's pretty stock. The previous owner put a cold air intake on it. He put American Racing 1 7/8 inch long tube headers on it. And he also did a tune that basically brought the factory horsepower numbers, what it makes at the crank, now it makes at the wheels.
Okay.
So it makes, with just like a very rough calculation, it makes about 500 horsepower to the crank, which is about 425 to the wheels, and then 420 pounds-feet of torque to the wheels. So it's got a little bit of a power bump from a stock SS. So
when you bought this 4 months ago, were you cross-shopping it with anything else? Because you also have the Subaru Forester you have, right?
I do. So when I bought the 350 that I talked about, didn't test drive anything else. Just went test drove a 350, didn't like it, because the one I test drove was in really rough shape. Went down the street, found the one I ended up buying. So that's the only car that I test drove, and that was kind of one of my biggest regrets when buying that car, was that I didn't look at anything else. I didn't know what other cars drove like. I just, found that one, I liked it, it was in good shape, and I bought it. When I was looking for cars again, obviously the 370, I went and test drove a bunch of those just because I had the 350 and I loved that car, and so I figured 370 was its predecessor, I should go test drive some of those. The R-Spec Hyundai Genesis, the 3.8, test drove one of those. I was just looking at a bunch of different like sports cars that were in my price range, mostly like newer ones, so that they would come with a warranty still.
Okay.
So I test drove like a newer Miata, and then I went to a dealership here locally, and they had an SS, a manual SS. And it was like one of the only ones that was on Craigslist.
Okay.
So I went to look at it and test drive it. Well, they don't let you test drive cars unless you're pre-approved. So they said,
gotcha.
"Oh, I'll take you for a ride in it," and I was like, okay, I mean, have never ridden in a Camaro or an SS Camaro before,
Yeah.
so I figured a test drive it, or like a ride in it was at least, I went all the way there. And so we start driving, and the guy goes, "So why are you going to test drive? Obviously you want to feel the power, right?" He just floored it. And like, I was stuck to the seat, and I was just immediately remember thinking like, I'm buying one of those. Like, there's no question about it.
Before then, though, you're kind of all over the spectrum, just wanting a tire kick.
Yeah, just kind of seeing like, just trying everything, because I think...
Because why not?
Yeah, you'd just be surprised at some cars that you might, you can watch reviews and read articles.
It's a whole
about
different
cars.
thing when you experience it, yeah.
Absolutely. Man, I think I might have to get gas.
Yeah.
It just says fuel range low. It doesn't even tell me how many miles I've left, which is probably not good. I've only gotten to this point like once.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I usually, if I get to a quarter of a tank, I'm like, all right, this is just too sketchy, because like a quarter of a tank might be like 50 miles if I'm lucky. So, although I've been averaging 15, which is not terrible.
No.
So that's like a decent mix. I've been having to go to school like a lot the past couple days, so like a fair amount of like highway miles gets me to 15 miles per gallon. I tried one time, like really hard, to see how good of gas mileage I could get. 22.
22?
That's pretty impressive.
20s, yeah.
So
not bad.
I was kind of happy. I sent a
but
picture.
it's so worth the soundtrack, though.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
Did you know that these things have track modes?
The one of these or the SS in general?
SS. If you hit this twice, it puts it in competitive mode, which like you can tell that this gets like way stiffer.
Really?
Yeah, and it definitely.
So it's like the Corvette then, yeah.
Yeah, like kind of firms everything up.
Wow.
It's kind of cool.
So you hit the traction off twice?
Yeah, you hit it once, and it turns off traction control. You hit it twice, you put it in competitive mode, and then if you hold it down for 7 seconds, because competitive mode is like, people call it training wheels. It's like limited traction or limited traction control, but like if you get really, really sideways, it'll straighten you out.
Gotcha.
But like you can definitely like get more sideways than normal. But you can turn it all off and get like,
And competitive mode was that one in the middle?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
People call it training.
And then holding that down for like 5 seconds would just turn it all off, I believe, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Ever get anyone back there?
I've had a couple people squeeze back there before. Have not had any complaints, which is kind of surprising. The couple times I've gotten back there, my hair is definitely like rubbed on the ceiling a little bit.
It's not too bad, especially when you compare it to the BRZ. Now, I don't know if my viewers know, but my sister actually owns a 2011 or 2012 Camaro RS. I haven't made a video on it. It's nothing terribly special. But the back seats, I've ridden in it a lot. And it's not too bad. I mean, you do a little neck turn, but it's not too bad. The BRZ, it's the legs and the neck that you're doing. Yeah. So it's actually not unusable. I can speak through the RS, but I was just curious if you had people, but no complaints. The BRZ, I've had people back there on like 2 different occasions.
Really?
They were complaining the entire time. Well, I mean, to be expected, we were going like to a lake an hour away.
Okay.
So yeah, but they were both like butting heads. The 2 people in the back. And to make room for that, I had to get my seat up so far up to where I could hardly use my clutch, but it was possible. Not the smartest and safest thing, but just, I don't know, spoken from experience. This is a limousine in comparison, but yeah.
It is a little bit more usable, but still small by backseat standard.
So I believe we covered everything. Like I said, I've been wanting to do some more of these ownership reviews, and we might have another one in line with your father and his V6 F-Type S.
Correct.
So that one hopefully we could get pretty soon, but thanks a lot for doing this one. This one was a lot of fun to make.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I hope you guys enjoyed checking out my car, and keep in touch with Brandon here for more ownership reviews. I'm sure he's got some good ones lined up and coming.
By the way, what a way to end it on that backfire. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.